Welcome to How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am Lainey Cavazos, retreat strategist and host of the show for coaches, entrepreneurs, and transformational leaders who want to design retreats that actually make money. If you've ever put your heart into a retreat only to walk away exhausted or worse, broke, you are not alone. This podcast is here to change that. Each week, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and expert insights to help you create meaningful, transformational retreats that also support your business, your lifestyle, and your bottom line. Let's make your next retreat not just powerful, but profitable. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast episode of How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am your host, Lainey Cavazos, and I am so excited to have today Shannon Ryan with me today. She is a certified financial planner with over 30 years of experience, where she guides individuals and families through the emotional side of money, and she helps you figure out how to actually move that into the space of actually managing your wealth, right? Because she has all this deep financial knowledge, but she has this heart-centered approach, so you can move from stress to empowerment. And if you've heard any of my stories in the past, you'll know that I had to go through so much and so many money belief systems that I had in my life. And I'm so excited today because we're going to be talking about the money beliefs that are holding you back and how to rewrite them. And just as a teaser for all of you who are here, I'm just going to tell you a little bit of what my biggest money belief back then was. And I had to go through not hundreds, but tens of theta healing sessions to figure this out. But I had this belief that money made you sick. If you had too much, it made you sick. If you had too little, it made you sick. So I just wanted enough. So I had this cap in my bank account. And whenever I reached that number, something would happen in my life and it will empty out. This meant an emergency. Once I had to have gallbladder surgery. The next month, I reached the same cap. My car broke down and I had to pay $8,000 of bills for my car. Big things broke in my car. Don't get me. So I was, what the hell is going on? So I had to go through this whole process of figuring out that limiting belief of why I just wanted enough, why I didn't want unlimited. It is such an important piece when we are in this space. And we're going to be talking specifically about what happens with retreat leaders as well in this space. I am super excited because Shannon is such a great person to bring this conversation to the table. So Shannon, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Lenny, I'm really looking forward to being here, and I love what you just shared. We're going to have to talk about it because that is, it is a limiting belief, and you're not alone. A lot of people have the similar belief. So, you're brave, and your audience is fortunate that you're willing to share that.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, and the story even behind it, Shannon, was my granddad. He had a lot of money, big company, super successful, multi-million dollar company
Mm.
all the time. And he got sick, he got cancer, and within 6 months, he was gone.
Mm.
On the other hand, my dad, he was this person who was an adventure person, right? He was all about adventures. And sometimes there was a lot of money, sometimes there was none, right? I remember this very clear in my childhood, right? My mom was always the one making sure there was food on the table, and she loved him dearly. So she supported his, adventure jungle person kind of vibe.
Mhm.
But then he also got sick
Mhm.
and he died without the money. And these two occurrences happened 3 months apart.
Wow.
So behind the scenes for me, what my unconscious created, right, was that it connected patterns. It was like, well, if you don't have money, you get sick. And if you have money, you get sick.
Wow.
So stay in the middle where it's safe.
Wow. Okay. There's a lot to unpack there, Lenny. That's a lot. And but you're really serving a lot of people by sharing that, because if it's not that exact same belief, we all carry emotion and limiting beliefs around money. And often we're not even consciously aware of them like you are.
Well, it took me a lot of time and a lot of times of just feeling really what I don't even know the word for it, but I felt very discouraged.
Hmm.
I felt like, why the hell am I working so hard when then suddenly, my bank account is draining?
Hmm.
I do all this work and then suddenly someone comes, snaps their fingers, and they're like, it's gone. So there
Hmm.
was a lot of discouragement, a lot of, I wouldn't say anger. It was more this deep, deep sadness that I think it went beyond sadness of like, why am I doing what I love and
Hmm.
still
Yeah.
it's not enough?
Yeah. Yeah. And yet you created the boundaries yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, also I had this thrive, right? I was like, this is not me.
Yeah. That's good.
This is not me. This is not who I want to be, right? It's about also who you want to become, that version of yourself.
Hmm.
And you know, luck, lucky enough or whatever, if you want to call it that way, I it was very, very close to the point where I had just started attending a lot of retreats.
Mm. Yeah.
And as much as they did not fully unravel the whole limiting belief, it allowed me to become more aware of what was happening in my surroundings. Right. So for me, retreats are super, super powerful.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk more about like the other pieces of that story that then happened. But Shannon, tell us a little bit about your thoughts in the space of limiting beliefs and how they stop us.
Well, and I'll just comment real quickly on the retreats. And I think what happens is when somebody goes on retreat, they are removed from their everyday habitual daily lives. Meaning we all have it's called fast and slow thinking. Meaning we all have habits every day, things that we do. We get up, we work out, we pray, we do break breakfast, we take care of the family, and then we go to the office, and then we come home. And when we're in our everyday life, we have habits that are deeply, deeply seated in our brains and our bodies. And it's really important because if you had to think about everything every day, Lenny, if I had to get in the car every day and think, okay, how do I drive this vehicle and how do I get to the office? I'd be exhausted by the time I got to the office. So having those habits are important. A retreat actually takes somebody out of those habits for a period of time and allows them to do what you did, to think, to reflect. And one retreat, we don't change habits like that. In fact, often we'll go to retreat and we'll come back and we'll be all fired up and we'll have our journals and ready to go, and then we'll get back into our daily habits again. And if we're fortunate, when we go to retreat or when we conduct retreats, somebody will make one habit change. It typically doesn't overhaul your whole life, but that's why retreats are so powerful. So when you finally were able to see your limiting beliefs around money, you couldn't unsee it. And that doesn't mean that when you went back into your normal life, Lenny, that you changed it immediately. My guess is it took years, years of changing small habits and thinking about money differently, because we all have that voice in our head that lies to us. And I hear it all the time. I don't make enough money. I'll never have enough money. My business will never be profitable. I make so much money, I'm uncomfortable around my family. And so a lot of these, whether it is where I have so much like your grandfather did, or I don't have enough, both sides of those spectrums. Now, I will tell you that a lot of people say, well, money is evil and I don't want money. That's also a disorder. And there's probably shame or hurt around money. Or there was somebody in your life that had a lot of money. I had a client who his father was very controlling with money, and he was a firefighter, and his father was ashamed that he was a firefighter and not a capitalist and making lots of money, but he loved being a firefighter. And after his dad died, he came to me and said, I don't want this money. I can't look at it. I can't spend it because of what it represented. And then I said, all right, let's just give it all away then. Who do you want to give it to? He goes, well, no, no, no. I need it to live. I said, then the money itself isn't evil. It's how your father handled it. And let's maybe your father used it as power because he never felt he could earn your love in other ways. And that was your father's disorder. You can choose to have that around money or not. So it's not money itself. There's not enough, or there's too much, or it's just enough. It's how you handle and how you think about your money that creates that emotional shift over time.
Just got goosebumps. This is so good.
Yeah.
Because I can relate with absolutely every single thing that you said. With
Mhm.
me, with my family, with friends, like everyone around us, we all have
Yes.
something around money. We've been taught to learn that money is evil, right? That it's the beginning of all the disasters in the world. I don't see it that way, right? I went through big changes to make that happen, but a lot of people see it. For me, I see it as an expander, right? I'm like, if you're a good person, you're gonna be a better person. If you're a bad person, you're gonna be a worse person because you just have more reach.
Yeah.
But that's it. In on its own, money is not, it does not
Yeah.
have this energy of good or bad.
It's paper. It doesn't have that kind of power. And why do we as human beings give it that much power? And I think it's very easy to explain why we give it so much power, because it's primal. And what do I mean by that? You and I need money. Everyone needs money to live, to eat, to house, to clothe ourselves, to educate, to get an opportunity in life. I mean, there's even statistics around if a child is able to get study courses to take the ACT or the SAT, then they'll get a higher grade on that those or score on those tests, and they'll get into a better university. If they get into a better university, historically speaking, they have higher earning potential. So what did that take? It took money. It took money to get into those more expensive courses. And so, because it's so primal, we also look at people with lots of money. And when we say someone is successful, we say they're successful because of how much money they've earned most of the time. Very rarely do we deeply examine someone's life. They're really successful, and we write books around them because they're million billionaires. But what was the quality of their life? So, why is money so emotional? It's because as a society, we know it's how we survive and how we're judged. So, tell me that's not emotional. It's completely emotional.
Oh my gosh, it's so emotional. I mean, I don't think there's any other way that could be even more emotional than
Correct.
the way people perceive us, right? Because this feeling of being judged by others is also very connected to our deep need of pleasing people.
Right. Because when we were more tribal, if we were not liked by the tribe, we could be left behind. Yeah.
Yeah, we show
We
up.
could we could
Forgot.
start. So we wonder why we want to be liked. And it's one of those things. I don't have teenage girls, they're young adults now, they're in their 20s, but I had forgotten as a woman how hard middle school and high school and all the judgment about the right clothes and the hair and oh, she likes me. What did she say? I didn't get invited to this party, or oh my gosh, they posted, which is the worst because everything's on online now. And they were all together and I wasn't there. So these feelings of being left out, and it all comes back to this very deep need of approval by our communities, by our friends, to be included. And sometimes we think, why is that so important? It's because deep in our DNA, again, it was survival. As we evolve and as we mature and as we go on retreats and we turn inwards and we start to really study if we're growth minded. And anyone that is listening to your podcast is growth minded because they're either going to retreats or they're putting retreats on. And so they are about introspection. And when we start that process, and it's not a one and done, this is a life process of growth and introspection. When we start that process, we start to realize that social media, money, other people, they don't leave us out. It's not that we don't have enough. It's how we responded to all of it. When we start to own our responses to money, when we start to own our response to how we feel about somebody who has money or who doesn't, is when we become empowered and things change really fast.
Yes, I think going through all these limiting beliefs in money and what it takes time for you to install these habits and everything, but sometimes they change, right? I call it like igniting the fire. It's just like it's like that. It's like a match, right? You turn it on and and then everything else take its time, and then you need to make sure that it stays that way. It was just not a momentary thing of
Yeah.
now I know what's going on with me and my money beliefs and my emotions. Okay, what do you do with that, and how do you actually make it and integrate it into your life so you don't reverse back into that version or a similar version, right? Because
Yes.
our brains is also very tricky.
Hmm.
So we'll find something similar but not the same to create a new belief where you believe you've gone through the process.
Absolutely. Our brains are really strong. And so what we have done with our habits over time, and we all have this. I don't know if it's around money, it could be around women, it can be around our appearance, it can be how much we weigh, it can be, all kinds of things. We start loops. And I hear to my girls talk. I am Lenny, you can't see me, but I am 6 feet tall. And some of my loops over the years is like, oh my gosh, I am so tall. Am I wearing heels today? If I go in the office, I'm going to be taller than everyone, and everyone's going to judge me, so I'm so tall. And am I going to slouch? Am I wearing heels? I'm so tall. I'm so tall. And I've been this tall since I've been 14 years old. And so I started early in my life, and it's a simple example that we can do with money too. I turned it around and decided that being tall was my superpower, that it's what was unique around me, and that I love being tall. I love it. So when that voice came up in my head, that 14-year-old girl who was walking into middle school feeling tall and lanky and ugly and oh my gosh, why can't I just be 5'6" like every other girl in school? I would say, tell my brain, no, this is my superpower. This is my strength in the world. This is a gift that I got. Be grateful for your gift. So I started, it sounds kind of loony, talking to myself and saying, and that same little girl voice would come in and say, but I'm so tall. And then I would say, you're right, you are. Aren't you grateful? And it took years to go from that voice, and a voice changes over time. It definitely changes over time. In fact, I had a good friend a few weeks ago that I hadn't seen in a while. And he walked up and he goes, oh my gosh, I forgot how tall you were. And I said, isn't it awesome? And I meant it. It wasn't a defense. It was awesome. And he said, yeah, he goes, it's one of the things I've always admired about you. End of story. And so the same thing happens with money. You start to hear patterns in your head, like you did on either side of the spectrum. Or the one I hear a lot is, I'm not good with money. This is never going to work. I'm not worth what I need to charge for my retreat. So I get a lot out of it when I go to the retreat and everyone tells me what a great job I did and I'm delivering value and I feel good. And then when my spouse or my coach, if you're coaching people, Lenny, say, well, if it's not profitable, why are we doing it here? I get defensive because I'm like, whoa, 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 I'm giving great value. But if that voice in your head is saying but you're not getting paid, then you need to start to work with that. Or because that voice may be saying, I'm not worth it. And people are typically scared to make changes in their businesses to really charge what they're worth. And a lot of it is just self-talk. And you can have that aha spark moment for sure. But it doesn't permanently change that voice until it's like exercising. You need to continue to remind yourself what you're worth, why you're doing it, and where you're going. And if you think that loud voice that has been ground into your neurons have been connecting that thought probably for decades, you think that's going to disappear overnight, you're fooling yourself. You need to get used to living with that voice and used to confronting it and creating a new story. And then they'll get to a point where the old story starts to fade and you don't even hear it any longer. The new story has embedded, but it takes time. And like if you're gonna go run a marathon, you can't decide, I'm gonna run a marathon this morning. You get up and you run a mile, and it's like, all right, I'm ready. It takes 10, 12, 15 weeks to get ready properly for a marathon. And that's if you're in good shape, adding just a little bit every day. And the same thing with changing patterns around money in your brain.
Yes. Okay, Shannon. This is such an important topic.
Mhm.
Would you put this in context of maybe, we were talking about this behind the scenes of a retreat leader, and how does this would work from a financial mindset perspective, profit, money limiting beliefs. What happens, and then what would be the shift,
Yeah.
or maybe the boundaries you need to give yourself so
Mhm.
you don't fall under your own trap?
Yeah, I'm going to use my one of my best friend as an example. She's a yoga instructor and she runs retreats. And she's very financially minded. She is very bright. She was a mortgage broker for years. She works in finance for one of the states right now. And so she's very, very bright. And I'm starting with that to say, she in the beginning of doing these retreats loved doing them so much, and she shows up, she gets beautiful locations and beautiful food, and then she's got the journals and the blankets, and I mean it is such an incredible experience. But as her best friend, she would come afterwards and say, it was incredible, Shannon. Everyone thanked me. I got beautiful letters and notes. I'm changing people's lives. And as her closest friend, I'm like, all right, did you make the money that you needed to make for the time and what you want from this business? She goes, oh, no, the profit margins are very thin. And I said, aren't they your profit margins? And she kind of a light bulb went off. She goes, you're right. I'm the one who set the price, but I don't know if people can afford or will pay more. And so that was a starting place that I don't think she's unique in. My guess is, and you'd shared a statistic with me that like 80% of retreat leaders are not getting the profitability that they want. Was that the number you told me?
Yes, 80%. And it's not even the profitability they want, it's profitability.
Profitability at all. Okay. And
Most of the people break even. There is coaches out there also that teach you that on your first retreat, it's okay to lose between 20 to $50,000. You believe?
okay. That's bananas, by the way. That's absolutely crazy. And so here is, and what I asked you when you told me that, I said, are the majority of these people women? And you said yes. And the reason why I asked is because as women, I'll share with you that we don't price ourselves well enough. Meaning that if you're running a retreat, and I'll go back to my girlfriend, Emily, who's a yoga instructor, she has 30 plus years of teaching yogis, instructors, running retreats, meditation. She's worth 5 times what she charges just from what she brings to the room. And my guess is a lot of the people that you're coaching and that are listening to your podcast are in the same boat. But somewhere along the line, we learned that if we charged more, people may not show up. We thought we may not be worth it. So I find that there's two things. So from a traditional perspective, a traditional finance perspective, um, I am always surprised that people don't understand what it's going to cost for them to run a retreat. Meaning, if they don't understand holistically, it is every single line item that you, as the retreat leader, are paying for. You need to understand what your based cost is. And it's hard to look at. Some people, well, I'm not good with numbers, I'm not good with money. If you are running a business, figure it out or hire an accountant to do it for you. Because if you do not know what it's costing you, you don't even know how to charge. You're not running a business, you're fooling yourself. The behavioral side is that what do you want out of this? If you are truly running retreats for a nonprofit reason, okay, that means you got to at least break even. You got to pay for your cost. If you're running them to make money, you need to know how much money you want to make. I'm a public speaker. I speak all over the country, and I will tell you, I'm either extremely expensive or I'm free, meaning that my fees are very high or I'm doing nonprofit work. There's not a lot in between. And the reason why is I know what I'm worth. I'm going to finish with you today and I'm seeing 5 clients today. I know what I'm worth and what my education and my experience is worth. I am a subject matter expert that's actually quite expensive and I know that I'm worth it. But it's taken years to get there. I also have a social worker heart. When I impact somebody's life, man, I love that. It feels so good. But I've decided that I'm not non for profit all the time. There are times when I choose to do things for free, and that is me giving back.
Very, very important thing that you said here, Shannon. When you choose to do it for free,
Yes.
it is a choice. It's a decision that you're making for your business, and you know your profit margins, and you know your revenue, and you know everything. You're like,
Yes.
okay, if I do this thing for free, that does not mean my kids are not going to eat, or I cannot pay their college tuition, or I cannot pay my mortgage, or I'm not
Yep.
even talking here about luxuries and, traveling to Bali.
Yeah, the good stuff, the extra stuff. Well, I think what's interesting is I think what really was I don't think I know what flipped the switch for me was children. When I had children and I waited to have children, I grew up in a period of time where if you were a professional woman, especially in finance, and there's still less than 20% of us that are wealth advisors. Plenty of women that work in finance, but not as the senior managing partner of a wealth firm. And that's what I am. And I will tell you that I felt that probably couldn't have children. Um, I would be thought less of, or, oh, yeah, of course she's pregnant. She can't show up. I mean, I was so nervous that I would lose my ability to do what I loved the most if I was a mom. And then I made a decision in my late 30s, thank goodness, to be a mom. And my husband and I had children, and I have two amazing girls. And once they were born, all of a sudden, my time that I was willing to underprice, to give away for free, to show up with all of my expertise became more valuable because if I took time away from my girls and my family to either be at a speaking engagement or to be with clients and other things, all of a sudden that time became more precious. So for me, the catalyst was I started to see my shift in what I was willing to do once I had kids. Now, that doesn't mean I still don't do things for free, again, out of choice, like I told you, for nonprofit. But I only have so many, I think of my business as a plane. When you go on a plane, you fill your plane, you've got to have a certain amount of profitability to take off because you've got to pay for fuel, you got to pay for gate fees and everything else. I absolutely have some pro bono seats on my plane, 100%. But I only have so many and so much time for that. But if those seats are filled, and I will always do pro bono work, but I'm also extremely profitable when that plane takes off by choice.
This is so important so for everyone who's listening here. What is the thing that resonates the most with you? And just put it in the comments, share it with us, because we want to really hear what's happening in your life, right? And the very important question for me to ask yourselves will be like, am I making excuses for myself?
Mhm.
Because we tend to do that a lot, and I see it very, very much into the retreat space. But I mean, the retreat space, it's a little bubble inside of the transformational world of all these women and men, but majority women, right, that want to create an impact in people's lives. They want to improve others people's lives, right? They want to be happy. They make people happier and more joyful and da 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 da. What? And for me, that is a given. If you're in the industry and you're hosting retreats and you're coaching people or consulting, and I mean, retreats are not just for coaches and consultants and healers, retreats are for everyone. Right?
Mhm.
And uh, I can tell you, I posted retreats that have absolutely nothing to do with anything really. Oh, we're going to open up our hearts and figure out who we are. Very, very much also left brained.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And when we have that, for me, it's a given that you want to change people's lives. You want to create an impact.
Mm-hmm.
But what I see a lot is people hiding behind that, using it as a screen. So they keep running their business like a hobby. So it's not really a business, right? Like a hobby, like something that is um, not really scalable. They could never sell it if they wanted to,
Yep.
because they're hiding behind the, I want to change the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, for me, it's something that is very, very sad to witness, because I know the more people are profitable and they can run their business and then they can grow it, the more people actually they can help.
Lenny, I beautifully said. So here's why, and I'm just gonna shoot straight. I'm a straight shooter. So if this offends anybody, I'm sorry. If you are running a business, and it is a business, it's not a non-for-profit, and you need to exchange your time for money, meaning that you're not so financially independent that you're doing this just out of the goodness of your heart. and you are not scaling, you're not running it like a business, you don't know what your profitability is, you're not profit, you're running retreats that do not have profit at the level that you need them, or you're not working towards it, you're using it as an excuse. You're getting something else. Maybe you're getting such a feel good, or maybe you are scared, or you have shame around the fact that you really don't understand the numbers. You're being defensive because, like, well, I'm trying really hard. I can't tell you how often I hear that. And I call BS on that, meaning that I don't think that we are serving each other as women, as entrepreneurs, as coaches. If somebody's telling us that they want to be profitable, like, well, I'm trying, and then they don't know their numbers and they're undercharging again, that's not a problem. But stop telling yourselves that you're in this for business reasons. You're in it for a nonprofit, and you're never going to make any money doing it. And
Okay.
that doesn't mean you're not. That doesn't mean you're not bringing value. So you need a coach. If you need, especially need a coach, and someone's going to shoot straight with you, like Lenny, if this is where you're at, and you need to be raw and real and admit your fear, your shame, whatever it is, and you're going to have breakthroughs that you can't even imagine.
Yeah, well, Shannon, that is so, so true. And I would say, even for everyone who's listening, there's a reason why is this podcast is called How to Run Profitable Retreats. It's not called How to Sell Out Your Retreat. Now, right, it is true. People out there, right, what they want is to sell out their retreat. But the reality is that a sold out retreat does not equal that it's a profitable retreat.
Mhm.
For me, I have this huge message behind the scenes that says, hey, you need to have a profitable business. There's no other way around it. If not, you're going to have to go back to a 9 to 5 job, and that's it, because
Yep.
it's not sustainable.
So here's what I've heard from clients and friends who run retreats before they run it profitable. They do the retreat. The retreat ends. The first day, let's say Monday morning, I'll talk to them and, like, oh my gosh, Shannon, we were sold out. It was amazing. The room was filled. There was energy. I think I really had an impact on this person's life and that person's life. And I got an email and I feel so great. But I'm exhausted. I spent so much time doing it. I took away time from my family, from my other business, and I made no money. In fact, it cost me money to do it. And then there is a spiral. Well, I don't know why I'm doing this. No one really finds what I'm doing worth it. And 9 times out of 10, the value is there, the opportunity is there. They're not choosing to charge enough or to handle their finances appropriately to make it profitable. And that's hard to admit. I mean, that's really hard to admit to ourselves. It's a tough, that's why I said I may hurt somebody's feelings, but maybe somebody will go, oh wow, that's how I feel on Monday morning after a retreat. And why am I not getting ahead? And no one else has magic that you don't have. And I think this is a lesson of as we mature. And I don't think maturity is age. I think maturity is this awakening, this aha moments at whatever age we have them. But when you start to really have an aha moment of, this isn't what I wanted to be profitable, that, and you can respond to that, seek help, get a coach, do what you need to do to go to that next level, that only then you're going to make the changes that you want to make, and only then you're going to become financially successful. But it is, you need to get to that next level to do that.
You spoke so many truths.
Mhm.
I mean, I hear you. The average amount of hours that someone spends running a retreat is 200 hours.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So divide what you made or what you lost by 200 hours. And you just gave those 200 hours away. Who did you take those away from, including yourself? Your
Mhm.
me- did you get your workouts in? Did you get your meditation in? Did you get your sleep in? Or did you just give all of that away plus time with your family, your friends, your community for nothing?
Yes.
And that's the question. It's hard. It's hard to look at that.
Yeah, well, there's Godin. He is like the father of email
No,
marketing.
Seth Godin. Yeah.
Yeah, right. He says that every yes you say to, it's a no you're saying to something else. So you
True.
want to be very, very mindful about what you say yes and what you say no to. Now,
Yes.
I do not want to discourage people from hosting retreats and running retreats like a business, because that's why I exist, to help you figure that out. So you don't have to learn it on your own. But at the same time, I want you to go a little bit deeper into this space. Okay, so I'm going to host a retreat. These 200 hours, just like you said, Shannon, what
Mhm.
am I leaving behind instead of doing it?
Yeah.
And sometimes you just need to be okay. Should I hire a marketing agency that will go and promote my retreat? Should I get a retreat organizer that can come and help me figure out all the details of actually running the retreat so I can focus on selling it? Right? All these little details are decisions we need to make in order to actually run it like a business.
Yeah. And as human beings, especially around money, we want to know that we were right. I made a decision to start retreats and I'm going to do retreats. And everyone's telling me that they're awesome. They may not be profitable yet. They will be profitable at some point. I don't have a plan to do that. If I'm being honest, I haven't charged enough, but at some point I am going to be right. And you can only tell yourself that for so long until your brain starts to figure out you're not telling it the truth any longer. Because if you are taking that much time away from other things, those 200 hours, and you're still not getting what you want over a reasonable period of time that you've outlined with yourself or with yourself and your coach, something is wrong and something needs to change. And when you can become really raw and real with yourself, as hard as it is, because now your brain's like, well, but I'm right. I'm good at what I do. Of course you are. You're not doing it in a profitable way. You need some help.
I mean, it's all layers, right, of different pieces. It's not just one thing. In order to have a business, I mean, if you think about, sometimes when we're entrepreneurs and we're in this space, we wear all these hats.
Yep.
And then, but we forget that actually running a business means there's more people. There's usually an organizational chart. There's all these pieces behind the scenes, and you're not the CFO and the CMO at the same time and the CEO at the same time. And we're just so used into the entrepreneurial world that we need to do everything on our own. And that's why you hire consultants or coaches like me to come and be, hey, this is your plan, this is what you gotta do, stick to it, and you're gonna get the results. And then rinse and repeat until there is a point where those 200 hours of a retreat become 50 hours of work.
Yep.
So then you become even more profitable, not just even by the profit itself, but actually by the costs of running that retreat.
Yep. I sit at a place right now in my life and I'm an entrepreneur. I'm exactly where I want to be. Financially, do I want to grow more financially? Of course I do. But I'm at the point where I really want to impact people's lives and grow financially. And I will tell you, I have always, even when I couldn't afford it, have paid for a coach. And in different areas, whether it be I needed a coach in my business or I needed a coach for my financial planning practice. But even being the expert with all the licenses and all the experience that I have, having somebody to hold a mirror up to you and to say, hey, wait a minute, Shannon, that's what you said you wanted, but your behaviors are something else. I have never paid for a coach. The business has always grown so much that they have paid for themselves by the growth that I've experienced. So I think sometimes we start to think about coaching and reaching out and getting a mirror, somebody that can really help us. We think, I can't afford that right now. I don't think you cannot afford it, meaning that you're not going to get there fast on your own, and you may never get there if you don't get the right type of people around you. And it's hard. Somebody also told me once, hire before you need somebody. That's also tough because, like, gosh, I finally am making enough money in my business, and I'm going to hire somebody, and now I'm going to make less money. It always is. It does. It takes you down a little bit for a period of time, and then it propels you up faster. So if we're truly talking about a business is an ebb and a flow on profitability. You'll start to be profitable, and then you'll add the next person to the team, or you'll add the coach, And that's what's going to get you to the next peak. But it's not a straight line. It's not linear. You don't think it's not always going up. It's a we're getting profitable. Now we gotta invest. Getting profitable again, you're not going to get to that next level. I've very rarely seen it without a certain level of investment in humans, coaches, and people.
Oh, this is so, so true, Shannon. Okay, so we're gonna leave the conversation here. I mean, I know we can talk for hours and hours and hours, but and you're absolutely amazing. I mean, look at all this information that you already shared with the audience, like how limiting beliefs are holding you back, how when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. You know, how to actually, if you're running your business, you need to think what are you leaving behind because you're not being profitable? How do we lie to ourselves? I mean, absolutely amazing. But Shannon, if people want to find you and connect with you, what is the best way for them to do it?
Lenny, thank you for having me. You've got a great show. I know you're helping a lot of women. I am at shannon-ryan.com. You can connect with me on socials, or I have a new book coming out on September 2nd, and you can learn about it all there.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Shannon, for being here. And for everyone who's listening, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.